Since the surprise discovery of the warriors 50 years ago, archaeologists have unearthed countless discoveries.
This is all built for one man.
It's a very, very powerful graphic representation of that feat he had achieved.
In 1974, farmers digging a simple well near Xi'an expected water. What they found instead was a clay head staring back at them. That accident uncovered the Terracotta Army, a silent empire buried for over 2,000 years. But in 2025, a discovery shook everything we thought we knew. A richly armored general, pigments intact, standing at the heart of a command structure. This wasn't just a funerary army, it was something far darker and far more deliberate. Discovery Revisited. In March 1974, a local villager named Yang Jifa of the village of Xi'an, near Xi'an in Shanxi province, was digging a well and unexpectedly hit clay shards, bronze arrowheads, and within hours a life-sized animal-headed terracotta figure's head. What looked like a modest rural burial site quickly grew into something immense. The farmers unearthed fragments, and archaeologists soon followed. The site would turn out to be the renowned Terracotta Army, a grand necropolis intended to guard the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. At first, the discovery was contained. Local burial, regional interest, some heads and torsos displayed in small museums. The working assumption, the clay figures were symbolic soldiers meant to protect the emperor in the afterlife, each life-sized and modeled after real men. Pit 1, Pit 2, and Pit 3 were identified soon after excavations began in earnest. The trenches turned out to be vast. Over time, the monument's scale became clear. Thousands of figures, dozens of chariots, buried across a broad mound east of the burial earth pyramid. As excavations progressed through the 1980s and 90s, archaeologists charted the pit system. Pit 1 became known for its main infantry body, rows upon rows of warriors in formation. Pit 2 revealed more detail: chariots, cavalry, command units. Pit 3 brought command posts and officers. The necropolis expanded outward, becoming one of the greatest archaeological finds of the 20th century. Then, in 2024 to 25, researchers announced a major new find: a richly armored figure, vivid pigments still intact, clearly designating rank rather than just being another soldier. This breakthrough changed how the entire site was framed, not merely as a symbolic army, but as a real command structure frozen in clay. What had once been seen as symbolic guard figures evolved into a reinterpretation of power and organization. The new general statue recast the site's meaning. In the next section, we explore that 2025 breakthrough, the discovery of a general figure in Pit 1 or Pit 2 with elite armor, vivid lacquer, and proximity to weapon caches. Evidence that this was a true command hierarchy, not just an afterlife fantasy. A general emerges. In early 2025, archaeological teams working in Lintong district, east of Xi'an, announced the unearthing of a life-size clay figure unlike any other previously found at the Terracotta Army site. The statue was identified as a high-ranking general rather than a common soldier, distinguished by richly detailed armor, a dragon breastplate, cloud motifs on boots and leggings, and vivid mineral pigments such as azurite and cinnabar still visible on the surface. The armor was significant: multi-layered faience decoration, lacquers preserved in protected niches, and inscriptions identifying command placement found near a weapons cache, bronze crossbow triggers stamped with batch codes. The statue's context pointed to deliberate placement. This general stood within the formation, not outside. The horizontal and vertical positioning suggested a living army's hierarchy was being mirrored in clay. Experts have also noted facial asymmetry. The figure's cheekbones, brow ridge, and hair knot all match variations found in regional warrior ethnicity, implying real person models were used for high-rank figures. The human touch in a 2,200-year-old work reinforced the idea that these were not generic sculptures, but portraits of elite individuals. The implication was profound. The Terracotta Army wasn't just art. It was a ritualized replica of the Qin military command structure. It suggested the emperor anticipated not simply legionary men, but full leadership under him for eternity, This shifted interpretation from guarding the afterlife to projecting imperial power into the underworld. With this discovery in mind, scholars turned their attention to the physical tomb itself. Not just the figures, but the underground architecture, the Mercury rivers, the sealed vaults. Section 3 moves beneath the warrior formations to the heart of the mausoleum. The mound of Qin Shi Huang, the remote sensing data, and the hidden architecture that promises more than we ever assumed. The tomb's hidden architecture. The burial mound of Qin Shi Huang rises some 76 meters high above the plain, a rammed earth pyramid built at the foot of Mount Li. Beneath lies a massive chamber over 460 meters by 390 meters. According to ground-penetrating radar and moon radiography surveys, ancient historian Xi'an claimed the tomb contained rivers of liquid mercury, stars in the ceiling, and a detailed model of the empire below. Those reports were long dismissed as legend, but recent soil tests reveal mercury concentrations hundreds of times above background levels in the mound's perimeter, validating the ancient account. Moreover, remote sensing shows grid patterns of braced chambers, corridors, and auxiliary pits extending well beyond the visible site. The complex is more than a tomb. It is a sealed underground city. Scientists now classify the necropolis as a fortress, an administrative palace in death. Every corridor, every cell, even every formation of warriors seems to mirror the living empire's layout. Roads, stables, instruction halls, command offices, now laid in clay and earth to follow the emperor into death, or beyond the new general statue, the weapons placement, the architecture. They all point to one thing. This wasn't merely symbolic, it was functional. The terracotta figures in the tomb architecture combined to project power into the afterlife. The engineering is staggering. Thousands of workers, over 700,000, labored for nearly 40 years, from about 246 BCE to 206 BCE to finish the complex. The building methods, rammed earth walls over 20 meters thick, protective drainage beneath the pits, bronze casting workshops on site, reflect industrial scale capability. The site wasn't just meant to be impressive, it was meant to endure, deter, and command respect for eternity. The architecture, the statues, the pigments, they all converge on a darker purpose. In Section 4, we turn to the dark agenda. Why the Terracotta Army was built not just for an afterlife guard, but for power politics, immortality obsession, and a legacy built on fear. The recent discoveries make the question urgent. What was the emperor trying to accomplish? And what did the workforce give up to build it? Why this army was really built? On the surface, the Terracotta Army appeared to perform a familiar funerary role to guard the tomb of Qin Shi Huang as he entered the afterlife. But recent discoveries challenge that simplistic view. The new general statue, complete with vivid pigments such as cinnabar, the proximity to actual weapons caches, and the detailed armor, dragon breastplate, cloud motifs, show that the figures were not passive placeholders. They formed an operational command structure. The idea wasn't just symbolic defense, it was projection of real power. The burial layout underscores that ambition. The pits, Pit 1, Pit 2, Pit 3, mirror military formations. Pit 1's infantry rows resemble marching battalions. Pit 2's chariots and cavalry flank like maneuver units. And Pit 3's command posts echo staff headquarters. The architecture of the tomb city, roads, stables, officials' quarters, extends those formations underground. This army wasn't merely for spiritual protection. It was for eternal rule, a mirror of the living state, calibrated for the underworld. The scale and human cost reveal a more troubling narrative. Records indicate over 700,000 conscripted workers built the complex over nearly 40 years, from about 246 BCE to 206 BCE. While some were artisans, many were convicts or forced labor. The splendor hides oppression, a vast human machine built to satisfy a single man's quest for immortality. The clay warriors stand not only for eternal might, but for the labor, fear, and control required to create it. Put plainly, the Terracotta Army is a monument to fear and ambition. If the living empire was based on total obedience and power, The tomb empire replicates that in clay and earth. The general statue tells us this was not legacy, it was continuation. The emperor sought to extend his reign beyond death. The geometry, pigments, weapons, all indicate that this was once a battlefield of belief, no longer just guarding death, he was guarding control. If the army was built to project power into death, then the technology behind studying it becomes critical. Section 5 delves into how modern science meets ancient ambition. 3D scanning, hyperspectral pigment analysis, Muon radiography. It shows not only what was built, but how we now uncover what was hidden, and why doing so carries risk for both artifacts and researchers. Technological leap. In recent years, archaeologists have applied cutting-edge tools to the terracotta complex. High-resolution 3D scanning captures each warrior's face down to 1/10 of a millimeter, revealing unique features like individual wrinkles, hairstyles, and scars. Photogrammetry builds digital models that let researchers virtually reassemble broken torsos, test pigment locations, and compare regional facial types across hundreds of statues. These methods turn clay soldiers into data points, each one a distinct individual in a massive database. Pigment analysis has revealed astonishing detail. Using hyperspectral imaging, researchers have identified at least 7 distinct minerals used to color the warrior's armor, skin, and weapons, ranging from Han blue, lead white, to azurite cinnabar blends. Some pigments were layered to create shadow and depth. The general statue discovered in 2025 still holds visible traces of gold leaf on a dragon motif. These findings overturn assumptions that all pigments had long vanished. In fact, they survive, carefully preserved by sealed earthen pits. Perhaps most remarkable is what lies beneath the tomb itself. Scientists currently employ muon radiography, cosmic particles passing through rock, to map hidden chambers without excavation. Early scans suggest new tunnels and even a possible second repository of weapons beyond known pits. Fiber optic robots traverse microcorridors, collecting soil profiles and ground-penetrating radar data. With every advance, the subterranean complex's full footprint expands, not shrinks. As science uncovers more, the true magnitude of the project becomes clear. Section 6 confronts scale and human cost. The thousands of workers, the unique individuality of each warrior, the empire built on ambition and labor, and how that echoes today in heritage, identity, and memory. The Empire of Death. To build a tomb and its army, historical records indicate at least 700,000 laborers worked for nearly 40 years. These individuals came from across the Xi'an Empire: artisans, soldiers, convicts, even slaves. They constructed the rammed earth pyramid over 76 meters high, sculpted thousands of clay soldiers, cast bronze weapons, and carved subterranean chambers big enough to hold an army. The workload alone rivals modern mega-projects. Each warrior, numbering thousands, was modeled individually, face, hairstyle, posture vary uniquely. One researcher counted over 1,000 distinct face types in a small section of Pit 1. These aren't mass-produced identical dolls, they're portraits of men. The scale of care and repetition is astonishing. As you walk through the pits, you sense you're in a city of the dead built by the living, a frozen army, poised for war that never came. But behind the artistry lies pain. Evidence suggests many construction crews were conscripted or worked under duress. Some perished in accidents or from overwork. Each figure might represent not just a soldier, but the aspirational memory of a life. The emperor's quest for immortality demanded their efforts, their skill, their very bodies. They built a legacy that they would never live to honor. The story doesn't end with the pits or the pyramid. In Section 7, we'll explore how the Terracotta Army's narrative reaches beyond China, how it shapes national identity, drives global tourism, influences art and media, and why that matters in a world still wrestling with empire, memory, and meaning. The cultural reach. The discovery of the Terracotta Army has transcended archaeology to become a global icon. In countries as far-flung as Australia and the United States, exhibitions featuring life-size clay warriors draw huge crowds. A major exhibition in 2025 toured Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, showing recently unearthed statuettes and armored figures. Museums reported record attendance, over 1 million visitors in 3 months alone. The Army's image appears on everything from video games to film posters, erecting a cultural emblem of ancient power and mystery. In China, the Terracotta Army has become part of the national narrative. It is woven into textbooks, cited in speeches, and promoted as a symbol of China's rich heritage and technological prowess. Tour buses numbered in the thousands bring tourists to the site near Xi'an each month. Local government claim the complex contributes billions of yuan annually to the regional economy by 2030 projections. What began as an archaeological marvel is now a pillar of identity and pride. But commercialization brings edge cases. In 2025, a visitor at Pit 1 illegally climbed over a barrier and struck the clay foot of a warrior, causing microfractures visible under microscope. The incident made headlines. People.com reported the damage and law enforcement reaction. The site's vulnerability became clear. What is ancient and fragile, once unseen, is now exposed and at risk. The cultural reach comes with responsibility. Yet the story darkens. What we once celebrated as a monumental artistic feat now reveals a deeper, uncomfortable truth. In Section 8, we explore the worse-than-we-thought revelation. How recent finds, including the general statue, command hierarchy, and scale of labor, shift our understanding of the site from awe to caution, from marvel to mirror of authoritarian ambition. The worse-than-we-thought revelation. For years, the Terracotta Army was framed as a grand funerary tribute. Rows of clay soldiers, silent guardians of an emperor's afterlife. But the 2025 general statue, the armor detail and weapons placements now suggest something far more intense. A real military machine recreated underground. The command structure implied by the general's presence indicates the tomb was built to reflect not just death, but ongoing dominance. The revelation unsettles the celebratory narrative. The scale, too, reveals discomforting truth. With over 700,000 workers and nearly 40 years of labor, the project represents industrial-scale construction directed by imperial force. Many historians now highlight the forced labor aspect. Convict workers, conscripted artisans, and possibly death by exhaustion. The warriors aren't merely art, they are built on burdens. Legacy intertwined with sacrifice becomes harder to unsee. Archaeologists analyzing pigment, layout, and armor detail conclude that the army was also a deterrent. The vibrant pigments, cinnabar, azurite, gold leaf, were visible originally in daylight. These color codes weren't just decoration, they marked rank, role, and command. This suggests the clay figures served as projection of authority into the afterlife. They guarded not just the emperor, but his rule, hierarchy, and power. That recenters the narrative from spiritual to political. With revelations in hand, the team turns toward the site's future. In Section 9, we examine current status and what's next. Unopened tombs, conservation dilemmas, shifting priorities, and how the 2025 discovery reshaped archaeological focus. What remains buried may be as impactful as what has already been unearthed. Current status and what's next. The major burial chamber of Qin Shi Huang remains sealed. Archaeologists cite risks. Exposure to oxygen, microbial decay, and structural collapse make opening it inadvisable. Recent plans involve muon radiography and subsurface robots instead of excavation. The site's management emphasizes preservation over spectacle. Yet the allure of uncovering the main tomb continues to pull international funding and attention. Meanwhile, following the 2025 discovery of the elite general figure, excavation priorities shifted. Rather than focusing solely on Pit 1's infantry rows, researchers now target high-rank sections, command zones, and new adjunct pits. Remote sensing has revealed possible additional pits farther east and a bronze chariot complex yet to be excavated. The landscape of discovery continues to expand. All these threads lead to a broader reflection. The Terracotta Army is not just ancient archaeology, it's a mirror. In Section 10, we pause to reflect on the meaning. Power, death, and memory. How empires live on in clay, and how what we unearth reveals not only history, but ourselves. Reflecting on the meaning. Line upon line, row upon row, the clay warriors stand in silent formation. But they are more than guardians of the past. They embody ambition, obedience, mortality, and memory. When we walk among them or gaze through scans and models, we are engaging with an empire that sought to defy death. The emperor's dream was more than immortality. It was eternal dominion. These figures keep watch not just over a tomb, but over that idea. They remind us that power often hides in scale. Thousands of unique faces, tiny variations in armor, formation after formation. It wasn't just decoration, it was authority. And behind that authority lies cost, labor, coercion, surrender of self. The workers who molded the figures built for an ideal they never embodied. The clay horses and chariots echo not victory, but sacrifice. The Terracotta Army still stands in perfect formation, but their meaning has changed. They aren't just guardians, they're a warning carved in clay, a ruler's fear of death, an empire's weight, a legacy built by 700,000 laborers over 40 years. And with every new scan, every pigment revealed, every chamber mapped, one truth becomes clearer. These warriors weren't created to remember the past. They were built to dominate eternity, and their silence speaks louder than ever.